Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our real live rookie mock draft here tonight with special guest Wyatt Bertolone from the RotoUnderworld. Wyatt, how you doing tonight?
Not too bad. About yourself?
Doing awesome. It's rookie draft season. Just the best time of the year. That's all I gotta say. We've also got Matt English in the house. How you doing tonight, Matt?
Doing fantastic. Couldn't agree with you more about the season.
Yes, it is. So let's get right into the draft for you guys. We are going to bring up, we're just doing it in Sleeper. So here we go. And we decided ahead of time that you guys, basically left me with the 101. And Matt's going to have the 102 and Wyatt the 103. And we're going to try and do this with a little spin of trying to give you ideas of what you could trade back for, try to upgrade, whatever, within the certain pockets of this 2025 rookie draft. Now, I got the 101, and ironically, in a draft that started on Monday, I had the 101, and, of course I wanted Genty. I had traded for it. Back in February, I gave up Saquon Barkley for the 101, and I got a third thrown in on top, too, which was surprising to me. But anyway, it was there, and I took it. This was a 12-team Start 12 Best Ball League, okay? So, obviously, a little deeper league, but I still wanted that 101 for Genty to get younger from Saquon on a contending team. And the only offer I got was decent. I worked it up to, Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Addison, and a 27 first. That was as good as I could get out of him. And that wasn't good enough for me. It's Ashton Genty. So, had that first been a first in the 2025 draft, then we might have been talking better. Like if I had gotten him, he had the 104. If I had gotten him to throw that in, then maybe I would have considered that. But yeah, I am just going to go with Ashton Genty, and that's what I suggest you do out there, unless you get like 3 really awesome assets, including a current year's first. I don't know if any of you have anything to add to that, or if we just want to keep rolling here.
It's got to be a Godfather offer to move off of the 101.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Matt, let's get into the real fun of the draft. Go to the 102 here. Now, we're doing a 12-team Superflex Start 10, 0.5 tight end premium, just for everybody out there. Those are the parameters we're using.
Right. So I've had to actually fire off this pick in a draft, and I was able to trade the 102 in one of our leagues. It's a lineup league, same thing, 12-team Superflex. We got a half-point tight end premium in that league as well.
Yeah.
I was able to trade that for a 26 first, a 27 first, and the 212 in this year's draft. But with a little bit of context there, those picks I've projected to be top 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years. So I also hold the 9, the 9, the 11, and the 12 in the first round of that. So I had good reason to go ahead and make a move there and stack some picks for the years coming, and it's a rebuild. So if I can get that kind of loot, so to speak, for the 102, then I'm probably going to take that in most circumstances. That being said, I know there's seems to be a consensus that it's Hampton at 2. I've been going Travis Hunter just because the values are so close. I feel like his value will sustain longer. Running backs as well over a 3-year window. So I've been going with Travis Hunter, and that's what
Come on.
Well.
Travis Hunter it is. And Matt, I took Travis Hunter at the 102 in a 16-team one quarterback league. So I feel you there. just see Hunter as the one with the higher ceiling, like the only one that could actually be a potential top 10 dynasty asset. You look at where Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs' value is, and it's basically, peaked at the 1-2 turn of a startup, and that's pretty much where you could see Genty or Omarion Hampton eventually get to, but I don't see him getting into the top 10. I don't know, Wyatt, do you see it any differently, or are you sticking with Hampton at the 2? Or Ward or something else?
I was gonna say I'm taking neither of them at the 102 personally.
Okay.
So I mean, I think I could just transition on to my pick at the 103 because I'm taking
Absolutely
McMillan, who I think is an incredible wide receiver, and I do think we're nitpicking between basically the 102 to the 106. It's a tier for me, and when I'm within that tier, it's going to take a lot to get me out of it. I'm willing to move within the tier if I'm making a trade, but if I'm going to trade outside of that, I'm really going to need a hefty price to do that, because I do think there is that really big break between those players. And Ted McMillan is my favorite out of this tier. I think he's a very good prospect. He can line up at X very easily and beat man coverage. We saw that from Matt Harmon's reception perception. He can also move across the formation, and he's really good after the catch, despite his size. A lot of people his size, aren't as good after the catch because they're not as nimble, but he's pretty nimble for his size. I think his time speed is not as good as his game speed. Now, I'll say, his game speed, he's probably not going to be taking the top off of many defenses in the NFL, but that's okay. We don't need him doing that, So I'm not really worried about what he's going to be doing in the NFL, play style-wise. I think he walks into a great situation. We were worried about Bryce Young, but after his resurgence in the back half of the year, those worries are mostly gone for me because he looked like a different player. It was like light switch, on that second half of the season for Bryce Young, and there's really just no competition for McMillan there. I really think he's pushing 140 targets year one, and Travis Hunter, love Travis Hunter. I think he could be a complete unicorn in the NFL. I'm expecting him to be a unicorn in the NFL. I still don't know how much he's actually going to play on offense. I think when he's on offense and when he gets opportunities, he's going to be very good. But what is the actual opportunity share for him on offense? I don't know yet. I don't know if it's as much as McMillan. And while I think Travis Hunter is easily the better player for the NFL, I'm not sure he's a better player for fantasy for me, which is why I go with McMillan.
Fair enough. I mean, all good points there. For me, McMillan to Hunter, it's such it really comes down to how much you're willing to risk, right? Because, yes, the ceiling is slightly higher for Hunter, but the floor is definitely much lower. So, yes, it is a very risky pick, but again, I feel you with not wanting to trade out of it, especially if you want to go wide receiver in these first 6 picks.
For sure.
If you're wanting to go running back, I can see sliding back to taking, into the Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, Judkins types, right? Mm-hmm. But wide receiver, you go down from these two to Ibuka, and it's, yeah. Matt, what are you thinking?
Well, no, I agree with
trading back, at least.
Oh, staying within tier? Yeah, if you're not getting, kind of, I guess, what I got, in a sense, for my 102, then, yeah, I would say I would definitely be willing to stay within tier, but I wouldn't trade all the way back. Because there is a significant drop-off from a tier. Even if you have one tier for Genty, and then you have, I don't know, the 2, if it's whoever it may be, even if you're looking at the pick 3 through 6, that's staying within that tier, I could understand that as well. Yeah. Now, I may disagree on evaluation of receiver.
No, and I can verify.
I wouldn't have any problem with Tet going in the top 3 at all. I think that's perfectly fine. In fact, most of us were leaning that way before the combine anyhow, so that's not a huge surprise to me.
Right. For me, it really jumped Hunter up by going to Jacksonville versus Cleveland, just because he's getting more solid quarterback situation, just a much better offense all around, and those things all factor in. I mean, I can understand Hunter worried about him playing defense, but man, once they see him playing offense, I can see, within a year or two that he just focuses more on offense. Because let's be real, when you get to the NFL, like, you're not going up against like K-State defensive backs and Big 12 defensive backs. These are real, all superstars, at least in college. And when you get to the NFL level, like, he's got to be in the film room. He's got to be doing all those things as a professional. And to try and do it offensively and defensively, I just don't. I don't know. And I think that's where your worries are, Wyatt. So, okay, now I'm up on the 104 here, and you guys both stole my wide receivers. So now I guess I just got to fall back on Omarion Hampton, which I have no problem doing that. Marion, I love this dude for a couple of years, but that's because he rolled it up on my Seminoles. And, dude, I know Florida State was just putrid last season, but this guy was a man amongst boys. Like, he showed up in the first half of that game and made you know that he was a legit NFL player. Like, I'm talking when you're watching high school football games and you can see that one guy. That guy is a D1 player, and the rest of them are done playing in high school. That's what Omarion Hampton looked like in that game. And so it was no shock to me that he rose up the boards as high as he did. And sure, Najee may get a decent amount of looks this year. I mean, they didn't bring him in to do nothing. But I think by mid-season or so, Najee will be relegated to like a Gus Edwards role in that Greg Roman offense there. And so I think Hampton, he in the long run, I don't think he quite will be Ashton Genty, but they're kind of two different backs. And so I think Hampton is in the perfect situation though in LA with the Chargers and Harbaugh, and that offense is going to run through him. So that's where I'm at with the 104. So, Matt, it's to you with the 105.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a tougher one here, being super flex with Cam Ward there. And Travion Henderson got all that upside, so does Judkins. But I'll probably just go with Cam Ward here. He is going to, I just don't see a scenario where he's not the week one starter for the Titans, being the number one overall pick. And seeing what Will Levis has done over the last year and a half as the starter for Tennessee. There's things that Ward has to work on, but he does have the legs to extend plays. He's got arm strength. There's a lot to like there. And Tennessee did go out and get several pieces for him, young pieces for him to throw to. And I know they've signed Tyler Lockett. They have Ridley coming back. But getting those young pieces, especially with a piece he's already familiar with in Restrepo, sorry, get tongue-tied on that one. So I feel like he's set up for
just call him X.
Tennessee. But he's got so much upside. I got to take it for the value at the very least. And again, don't always have to stay with this guy for the whole season. I can move off of him before the season starts, but I think his value holds very well as opposed to a running back here.
Sounds good. All right, Wyatt, it is now to you at the 106.
Pretty easy pick for me, Trevion Henderson here. Last player, I think, in this tier that I was talking about before. Excited for him in New England. I know that there are people out there who are worried about Ramondre Stevenson, and I'm just not worried at all. This is a guy who was about to be benched for Antonio Gibson at times last year because of fumbling issues. And while, I think Ramondre Stevenson's a fine player, he's not holding back Trevion Henderson. And I know people will point to, Ramondre's contract, and this is one of those situations where you have to realize where teams get in these periods of time where they have to hit a salary cap minimum, and you start to see contracts go out to players that you wouldn't expect. Look at Cole Kmet's contract. Do you think the Bears really actually wanted to pay him that much amount of money? The Bears had a terrible roster and needed to hit the salary cap minimum. because they had so much cap space. It's kind of a similar thing that happened with Ramondre Stevenson, in my opinion. And I expect Ramondre Stevenson to still be involved. Trevion Henderson is probably best used as a player who's getting more of the 15 to 18 opportunities a game, not the 20 opportunities a game. That's fine. He doesn't need all those because he's such an explosive player. A lot of those are probably going to be the passing game, where he's very good. He's one of the best pass blockers coming into the NFL as a running back, so he's definitely going to be playing third downs because of that. And this is an ascending offense under Drake May and what they've been doing, trying to build around him. So super excited for Henderson.
Yeah, good pick there. That's, to me, that is where we have our first kind of tier break. I mean, I've gone through it as I did pre-draft. I said we had these mini tiers within one mega tier for me, and that mega tier went from 102 down to like 111-ish or 201, somewhere in there. But once we got the landing spots, it was a little easier to piece these guys into the tiers. Now, if you like what you're hearing, be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Help support the Birdhouse Dynasty Show here. And Wyatt, where should they check you out at?
You can find me on Twitter at WyattB_FF. You can find all
Come
of my
on.
through there. I got the link right on my page there.
Absolutely. Go check out Wyatt's stuff. His articles are amazing, by the way.
Appreciate
it. He's not just good on camera here. All right. So we have the 107 pick now. I have had this pick, and this is where it gets interesting for me because I have Quinshon Judkins as my guy to take here. But if you see someone in your league, and this is where it comes into, it's league dependent, whether you can pull off a deal like this or something. But if you can get the 110 and 201, if you can get the 111 and even 203, things like that, this is where I'd be really looking to trade back. Because if you can get a 2-for-1 out of this, and like I said, if Quinshon Judkins is the guy I like here, but if I could get Caleb Johnson plus something, if I could get RJ Harvey plus something, I mean, to me, that's kind of a no-brainer because, I mean, you guys, you love me. We all love making projections on these players, right? But who's to say? What are the odds Caleb Johnson has a better season versus Quinshon Judkins here, right? And I'm not just talking the first season. I'm talking their careers, basically. I mean, they're both going to be the top dogs in their offenses going forward. So, I mean, this is a prime pick here for me to try and look to trade back. So I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins, but again, this is a situation, folks, out there where you definitely should be looking to trade back and gain value. Just don't do it foolishly. Don't trade all the way out of this draft. I'm saying you still want to get guys in this draft, right? So there we go. Quinshon 107. Matty, it is to you at the 108.
All right, so hold on a second. Uh-oh. There we go. My mic went out.
Oh, okay. I think you're back.
Am I?
Now I can hear you. Now you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so in this case here, I like the idea of trading back here, but this is a place I would actually be pretty comfortable doing this. And I know a lot of people, I think it's kind of lazy scouting, lazy analysis. But I would take Ibuka here because I think I'm positive he's a better receiver than McMillan in that wide receiver room. Mike Evans has injury concerns, and unless Chris Godwin comes back 100% to the way he was, I could totally see Ibuka becoming a starter on this team and getting targets right out the gates when he starts to play. If you look at the talent that he's played around throughout his career at Ohio State, it's stupid. It's so stupid the amount of NFL talent he's had in his wide receiver rooms, yet he's always produced. So, yeah, I'm comfortable taking him at the 8 if I can't trade back.
Wyatt, you got anything on Ibuka going there?
He's my 107 still, so I love it. A lot of what Matt just said. I think there's reason to believe he will still produce as a rookie in the NFL, and I am so positive that he's going to be a good player in the NFL that I have to have him over the rest of these players. He might only be a wide receiver 2 fantasy wise, during his career. Like I think that's actually likely based on his skill set as a underneath slot type of wide receiver. It's possible he develops into a little bit more. I think he can play on the outside some, but I'm so positive he's going to be really good at that and be a wide receiver 2 for fantasy for many years. I got to have him up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as a Bucks fan, I'll admit initially I was shocked at the pick because us re-signing Godwin made me feel like we could actually go defense with our first 3 picks, which was what. Yeah, and so I was shocked initially, and it was hard for me to digest it right away. But then now looking at it and hearing what Jason Licht had to say about Ibuka and his character, and then Baker goes and picks up his whole family at the airport to welcome him to Tampa. Dude, I mean, it's just awesome. And with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they are old, right? This could be the first year Mike Evans doesn't have his 1,000 yards. Chris Godwin, I mean that broken ankle was awful, right? And he's having lower body injuries every season now. So Ibuka could lead our team in receiving as soon as this year. So I think that anybody who's getting him, I've seen it. He's going sometimes at the turn or even at the 201 or 202. Dude, that's a steal.
Wild.
Yes, just wild. All right, Wyatt, you're up at the 109.
Here's the point in which I'm officially sending out offers. Get me out of this pick. I like the players available. I just don't want to have to use the 109 on them. Judkins and Ibuka is like a mini tier for me, where I'm like, all right, if I have to make the pick here, I'm okay with it because I feel good about the player I'm getting for this cost. Once I get to 109, I'm really trying to get out of the pick. Probably good with moving down to 202, 203 is probably okay with me. Somewhere in that range, depending on what's getting added on top. But if I have to stay here, I'm taking Colston Loveland. I thought he was the best tight end in the draft before the NFL draft. Him landing with the Bears as the first tight end drafted, I think is great for him. Obviously, they're loaded with weapons, but there's this effect where there's a team loaded with weapons, but one of them is the tight end, where it's like the wide receivers can rotate, the tight end really doesn't. It's kind of like what you saw with Packers last year, all those wide receivers rotate, but Tucker Kraft is still out there doing his thing because they play in most situations. And I think that can be true for Colston Loveland. Also, it doesn't hurt that Ben Johnson came out and said that he thinks he's Sam Laporta. So, seems like a pretty good comp if we're projecting out for him in the NFL and what we want. That'd be pretty nice. I don't think he's Sam Laporta necessarily, but just getting that confidence from Ben Johnson is obviously going to be nice for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And him going to the Bears with Caleb Williams throwing him the ball versus Anthony Richardson as your quarterback, or even Daniel Jones, that makes a big difference to me. And it's not just me for having them on my team. It's the market perception on these players, right? You could be taking Loveland here, but you already have Sam Laporta on your team, right? It's not that we're drafting these players, sure, but we don't necessarily have to be playing them come September. I mean, we still have 4 months until we're actually setting our lineups here. So Loveland is probably the value pick. To me, though, with war charts and everything, I'd be leaning running back. So I honestly probably will have 0 shares of Loveland and Warren on my rosters, honestly, unless they fall to me in my lap in the 201 or 202 range. It's just how I look at it and how I like to build my teams, and it's hard to trade good tight ends when like you're the one trying to force the trade. I'll say that.
There's a good reason for just avoiding tight ends in general, kind of like in this range, unless they're like transcending prospects like Brock Bowers. It's just because if they don't turn out to be, a top 12 tight end year in and year out, they're just not actually providing that much value for your team. So there is a big argument, the other way from moving away from tight end. It's just, if I'm being honest, I'm not that confident in the skill position players in this general area in providing more value than what Loveland will.
Fair enough. So now it's to me at the 110, and as you mentioned, this is an area where I'd like to trade back, because for me, looking at it, I wouldn't necessarily trade back. If I really needed a quarterback, I would have no problem taking Dart right here.
Love that.
And so it depends on your setup. Like if you're happy and set with 3 quarterbacks in a super flex league, then it's fine. And I don't even need to have studs. If I got a superstar as my QB1, and then I've got 2 all right quarterbacks, that's fine. I probably would pass on Dart here. But if I've got 1 stud and then 1 shaky guy and then not even anybody at the 3rd, then I'm really heavily considering Dart here, because I think that I could withstand the first few months where his value is going to just stay the same, right? If he doesn't play in September and October, his value isn't going anywhere, right? But then he gets to play in, say, November, then we'll see maybe some value fluctuation there. Meanwhile, you could get Tyler Shook a round later, and he might be starting week 1, so you could see some huge value fluctuation there at quarterback. But I'm going to go Caleb Johnson here. Again, I would probably trade back to see if I could just get RJ Harvey plus something. But I'm going to go Caleb Johnson. It's very close between him and Dart for me. But that's where I'm going to go. Matt, I'm leaving you with your boy Dart.
Yeah.
Unless you decide not to.
You just had to take my favorite running back here. No, I love Caleb. I think he ended in the perfect situation in Pittsburgh. He fits the bill, and actually, I mean, he's a little bit bigger, but he runs a lot like Lev Bell used to run. He's very patient, and when he sees his opening, he hits it very hard. I think it's a perfect spot for him, and it shows. They don't have Jalen Warren's not their guy. He is absolutely their change of pace. With that being said, I had Dart rated as my number 1 quarterback in this draft. From an NFL standpoint, I think his game translates a lot better. He goes through progressions. His pocket presence is the best, and he's extremely athletic and can make plays with his legs. So yeah, give me some Jackson Dart. I even know I'm taking 2 quarterbacks here.
They're not the same team, Matt. It's not the same team.
It's just weird to draft 2 in the first round, and actually go through the motion. But no, Dart, I think, is in a great situation. I mean, they backed it up by they have a 3rd down running back in Tyrone Tracy. They've got Scatterboo to come in now. He's electrifying on tape, and we'll see what he does at the NFL. But he's also got Malik Neighbors, and as a Malik Neighbor owner in multiple leagues, I'm very excited to see Dart come in.
What are your thoughts on Dart, Wyatt?
Big fan. I didn't have him QB1, but I had him QB2 by a good margin, and I don't think he was that far behind Cam Ward. I also don't think he sits for that long. These days, QBs don't sit, especially when they're drafted in the first round. Last time Dayball had a rookie quarterback who maybe could use a little bit of development, had some physical tools, he only sat for 5 games before he started starting. So, yeah, I mean, what if you're the Giants, what are you doing with Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston? They're just kind of just holding in place, right? This team's not going to be winning, so what's the point? So, yeah, I think Dart's going to start early, and I think he's got good tools. I think like the one big criticism people say is like Lane Kiffin's offense was like 1 or 2 reads and that was it, and then he runs, and that's fine because what do you think Brian Dable's going to do? Like have him scan the field for Jalen Hyatt? I don't think so. So yeah, I'm not worried about that whatsoever. I think it's actually a good spot to land.
Awesome. All right, Wyatt, it's to you now on the 112.
I can't believe I'm actually taking this person. I assumed I would not be the first person to take R.J. Harvey because it's kind of become a thing that I'm like lower than consensus than everybody on R.J. Harvey, it seems. I wasn't as into him as a prospect as a lot of people. I think the film is nice. Definitely put up some good numbers, some good advanced metrics his last couple of years. But he also did it late in his career. He's 24 years old, I believe, right? 6 years in college. And I know there's some context to that. Came in as a quarterback, lost a year to injury, all those things. And context is important. It's just players who come into the NFL at a later age, at an advanced age like that, statistically have a lower chance of hitting in the NFL. It's just the way it is. So he's already got that against him. I also think he's probably like a capable pass catcher, but not like a great pass catcher. So I'm not positive that he's going to have this massive passing down role for Sean Payton. Now the argument to that is everyone behind him is terrible. So who else is going to do it? Which is a very good argument, and I don't have a lot to say against that because it's true. It's just when I'm not sure someone's capable of a role, I'm not ready to just give them the role. Just as only because the argument is, well, no one else can do it. Because we've seen this before, where it's say well, who else are they going to give the touches to? And they find a way to give the touches to somebody else sometimes. So all that said, R.J. Harvey's a really great athlete in a very good situation potentially. So the ceiling is very high. I think the floor is also kind of low for this kind of a pick. It's kind of a boom bust pick. But you look at just talking about market and stuff like that. You look on Underdog, and he's now the third highest drafted rookie running back, ahead of Judkins, ahead of Henderson now on Underdog. And he's rising. He's continuing to rise because of the landing spot. I'm surprised he was here at 112 for that reason, because the hype on him is getting so big. So it's also playing into the market at this point for me, and that if he's performing really well, maybe I can use him to get an asset I feel a little more comfortable with.
Yeah, I think this is really the R.J. Harvey case is, and you mentioned a little there, Wyatt, think Trey Sermon, right? Going to the Niners. Great offense, right? And then just complete garbage. I don't think that Harvey's going to be that bad. But again, this is why we do our pre-draft rankings, right? I mean, R.J. Harvey was, middle of the third round running back. For me, he was in that clump of running backs after the top 5. He was in that clump of 10 to 12 running backs that we were arguing. We couldn't figure out where to put him until we got landing spots. And then, so he goes to Denver, which was, of course, one of the top 2 or 3 landing spots. But why are we jumping him up 15 picks because of that? I mean, I did take Harvey in one of my leagues. It was one where I traded back from the, the 5th or 6th pick, got the 112 and 202, I think. And so I wanted to grab one running back because I didn't grab the more elite back of, Henderson or Hampton's range. But man, that age, 24 years old, and, just comparing Harvey to Caleb Johnson, I mean, what kind of numbers do you think Caleb Johnson would be putting up if he played another 2 seasons at Iowa? Just put that in perspective. I don't know. Harvey's a great athlete, and I think he'll do well, but man, that's just insane that he's risen that high on Underdog so far I think it's just the offense that they're pumping him up that high, and I think Quinshon's getting dinged because they drafted Dylan Sampson, which is ridiculous to me, and Caleb Johnson, he's got Jalen Warren in the same role that he's been in. I just don't see how I would take Harvey over any of these other 5 backs ahead of him still. I can see putting him ahead of Scatabo. I understand that. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just saying it's the Sean Payton effect. That's all I've got.
Totally. Exactly. And I get buying into that. I mean, obviously Alvin Kamara has been phenomenal, but RJ Harvey is not Alvin Kamara. Okay, and Kamara got picked. I know he got picked in the 3rd round, but if you were playing back then, go ahead, Wyatt.
He got 3rd round because of off the field stuff, not because of what people thought of him as a
right.
prospect. He came in the NFL as one of the better pass catching running backs we've seen when he got to the NFL. So.
Right. I would be shocked if Harvey gets, over 60 catches in a season, ever. I think Jaleel McLaughlin still gets some catches. I'm not worried about Estime, but I think McLaughlin still will work his way in, and then they just signed Evan Engram. Like, he's going to eat some stuff underneath as well. So great offense going there in Denver, for sure. But, all right. Let's go on to the 2nd round here. And now's where it gets dicey. So, board-wise, talent-wise, I'm supposed to take Tyler Warren here. This receiver clump is just, ugh. So put it this way, if I had the 201 and the 204, 205-ish, even 206 picks, I would just take Tyler Warren and then grab whatever receiver fell to me. So I guess that's how I'm going to look at it. Even if I didn't have this, I would just take Tyler Warren and try and flip him, I guess. That's how I'm looking at it. Now, I know everybody's beating him up for his landing spot. We were beating it up even before anybody got drafted to the Colts because we knew they needed a tight end. We were like, don't let anybody go there. But that said, look back at Daniel Jones's numbers when he had Evan Engram, and he did target the tight end 19% of the time at least. Okay, so that's okay. It's way better than what the Colts targeted the tight end last year. They didn't even have 100 targets to the tight end last year. So I think part of that is because of the talent that they had at the tight end position. And if Jelani Woods hadn't been hurt, they may have had a few more targets there as well. So if you're drafting Tyler Warren, you're hoping and praying that Daniel Jones starts as soon as possible. Or you're able to flip him for some kind of value. That's all I got to say about that, because I don't know who to pick out of these wide receivers. You could take any of these next four guys and make an argument for them. So I'll just take the cop out and take Tyler Warren. It's on you, Matt.
Yeah. So this is an easier pick for me. I think you know that, Chris. So I'm just going to go Jaden Higgins here and cut through it. I'm really high on this guy. It's not without good cause. I mean, if you get down to his tape and you watch what he's been able to do in a short period of time, in his career, and I know the Iowa State's not necessarily known for their top end wide receivers, but when guys come into the NFL from Iowa State, they just kind of stay. And they do a good job. They come to work every day. They keep their head down. They're not divas. They just do a good job. When you look at his build, the way he's framed out, his route tree, I'm impressed. I think the Texans got kind of a steal with him early in the second round. And I think you'll see immediately with the Twin Towers now running routes in Houston with Nico and Jaden Higgins, his impact will be much quicker than his current teammate in Jalen Noel.
Sure. All right. Now, Wyatt, it'll go to you. Now, I just wanted to ask you your thoughts on Tyler Warren before we move on to these wide receivers, this little run we'll have here.
Sure.
What do you think about Warren? You already talked about Loveland. What about Warren?
Yeah, so going through the process, like, obviously this last college season was incredible. Really, really, really good season. But it's a little bit concerning that it took to that point for him to have that kind of production. Like, I realized he was playing behind NFL tight ends, but like not the NFL tight ends you'd think would, like, if he's such a good prospect that he goes so much higher in the draft than them, that he'd be held back. But hey, sometimes colleges do this. It wouldn't be the first time that a better player has had to play behind someone else. So it's, it's just a little bit concerning, like a little bit of a note. It's like part of the tiebreaker for me with him and Loveland.
Mm-hmm.
But then the ultimate tiebreaker was him landing on the Colts, and it's hard to guess when he's actually going to start producing for us. Because if it's Anthony Richardson, I have no confidence in it happening. Even if Anthony Richardson improves, he would still be a long way from us trusting him to produce fantasy pass catchers on a reliable basis. If it's Daniel Jones, yeah, that's an improvement. But again, how much? Are we really going to be that excited for Tyler Warren's production? And we always want to bet on situation over talent, talent over situation. Excuse me. But when the foreseeable future is really hard to think about, I genuinely, what's the off ramp for the Colts to find a QB? Because it's not Daniel Jones, it's not Anthony Richardson. When does it even happen? It's just tough. The hope is that Daniel Jones comes in and Tyler Warren is him, and the entire offense is around just getting the ball in his hands and letting him work out the catch. And maybe that happens, and he actually has a good year because of that, because he's a 25% target share in this offense under Daniel Jones, and then we get there. I'm just not confident that happens because Josh Downs is a good wide receiver, Michael Pittman's a good wide receiver. I just don't think he comes in and dominates the offense.
Yeah, my comp pre-draft for him was an old Colt, Dallas Clark, and who moved around the offense. Great chess piece, but you had Peyton Manning running that offense. It's a little different with Daniel Jones, hopefully, running that offense. And like you said, what's the off-ramp for those guys? You have a bad year and all of a sudden you're bringing in Drew Aller? I mean, he's used to handing the ball off and tossing it to Warren. But I don't love Drew Aller, but that's a whole nother show in of itself. Yeah. So, all right. Now that we've got our tight ends squared away, it's on you at the 203, Wyatt.
Yep. I'll take Matthew Golden. Another player who I think is probably just going to be a wide receiver 2 for fantasy at his best. But unlike Ebuka, I'm not confident that he's going to do that year in and year out, especially now with his landing spot, where I don't think he necessarily separates from some of the other players as well. Also, just trying to think about what his role is going to be. I imagine he's a little bit more of a down-the-field player. I don't know how often the volume is going to be there for him. Last year, we saw the Packers also become pretty run-heavy. Part of that, I think, is also due to Jordan Love's dealing with some injuries, so I'm not sure that's where they want to be as run-heavy as they were at the end of the year. But Golden does have some interesting traits. I think the 4.29 is probably not quite his real speed, but he is fast. He's definitely fast on tape too, and he excels down the field. He excels on the sideline, on the boundary, and exactly what I think Packers are going to have him doing. And the first round draft capital gives him some security, both for his job and for dynasty value. If things aren't working out, you're probably going to have an opportunity to move on from him for at least close to equal price just because of that first round draft capital. So playing the market a little bit there, going with Golden here.
Sure. Yeah, I think Golden is a player who we like to say, is a better real-life player than fantasy player, because he does fill that void that Christian Watson is going to leave. Because, all right, Watson, we don't even know if he's starting the season, and then this is the final year of his contract. So, they drafted his replacement, essentially. But, other than Tucker Kraft, who's the only one that's on the field, they rotate those other guys. And it's hard to see Golden just, paying off big dividends. This is where, if I'm a contending team and I happen to have this early second, I am trying to flip it for a veteran wide receiver. Absolutely. I just that's how I would look at it right now. So at the 204, I'm gonna grab another wide receiver, and it's tough between these two. I'm gonna go Trey Harris. I like his immediate opportunity enough that I'm gonna take the chance on his value being able to spike quicker than Luther Burden's. Luther Burden, Ben Johnson drafted for a reason, and I'm sure we'll get into it once he's picked, but Trey Harris can become Justin Herbert's Mike Williams, and that's what they drafted him for, and they're going to give him every opportunity. They know that Quentin Johnson isn't it, and that's why they drafted Trey Harris. And dude, I mean, this guy got hurt half of last season, but in those games he played, man, I don't know how much you watched the old A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf days at Ole Miss, but Trey Harris had a lot of plays looking like A.J. Brown. I'll say that. I don't think he's going to get to that, but if there's anybody out of this clump of 4 receivers here that could spike higher than or get close to these the top 3 wide receivers, to me it's Trey Harris. And so that's where it separates itself for me, is the ceiling is a little higher for Trey Harris, I think. All right, Matt, it's up to you at the 205.
Yeah, I'll take Luther Burden here, so we can go ahead and talk about it. It's you already mentioned Ben Johnson selected him for a reason. They already have Rome Odunze there. You know he's probably not going anywhere. But DJ Moore could be on the trade block. Maybe. I have no idea. I don't have contacts in Chicago to let me know that. But it just feels like a move that could happen. I don't know when or if, but I don't know. There's I think for some of the same reasons we like Loveland being selected by Ben Johnson, him going out and getting weapons, is the same reason I look at Luther Burden. Plus, I mean, you can move him all over the field. He can do all kinds of different things for that team. So I think there's value for year 1. I don't know how much, but I think there's some sort of value there. And then as year 2 and 3 come, I think he's going to be a nice weapon to have on your roster. So maybe like back end wide receiver 2, maybe more like wide receiver 3 numbers in year 2. But I could be wrong. It could be a lot more than that. He could bust out.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Ben Johnson system, this slot receiver is obviously a huge component of it, as we've seen with Amon-Ra, and I think that's what he's looking for out of Luther Burden in that pick. But Wyatt, you got any thoughts on Luther Burden?
I was not a fan compared to most going into the process. I think the production, you have to question how he got it. Most of it, screens, manufactured touches, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Even in his really awesome sophomore season, that's the way most of the production came. Obviously, the ceiling is very high for him. A lot of film watchers will tell you that he moves different, and the potential's there for him to do a lot of things in the NFL. I'm not confident that happens. Landing with Ben Johnson is a great thing because Ben Johnson finds a way to get the best out of everybody. But it's also a very crowded room. I'm not sure when he gets the opportunities. But I think this is the right area of the draft to be taking a player like him where the potential is really high. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the right spot. I don't love the player, but I am, biting my tongue and drafting him in this area.
I did want to add one
Sounds
thing there.
good. I hear you. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I do have my concerns about Burden as well. You watch the tape, and I'm not talking about the tape when he gets the ball, but when you watch actual game film, once he's got the ball in his hands, he's very dynamic. But it's what he does off ball that I have concerns with. Like, there's just less gas being given during the play, and that's a big concern. But again, like Wyatt said, this is kind of that point in the draft, like, it's throwing a dart. But
Yeah,
all of these
it's
guys, all of these
almost.
top prospects have concerns. There's a but behind a lot of them, right? So keep that in mind. Every one of these guys, we're going to talk good about them, but every one of them has a concern. So,
Yeah, it's almost that part of the draft I like to call story time, where you have to start telling yourself a story on the players to believe in the pick, right? Most of the guys in the first round, outside of maybe a Buka, they come into a role immediately, right? These other guys from here on out, this is where I consider trading out completely to a future pick if I don't have enough space on my roster. Those are just some of the things that go through my head when I get to this point in the second round. So that said, Wyatt, the 206 is on you.
Yeah, like you were just saying, I'm willing to just entertain offers in general once we're into this point in the draft. On any pick, I'm not like. There's no point the rest of the draft where I'm like, nah, I'm definitely taking this player here, unless someone like has fallen a significant amount, and I know that I'm not going to get offered the right amount to make me move off the pick. So I'm definitely just entertaining offers in general from this point. This pick is actually pretty tough for me. I'd love to be saying Jalen Knowles' name because I really liked him as a prospect. Him landing in Houston with Jaden Higgins, I think sucks. Just straight up. I still kind of want to bet on hit the talent with him, but just being real, Nico and Higgins ahead of him. Christian Kirk, I think at least has a little bit of a role still this year. Just worried about like what Knowles' projection actually is moving forward. So I'm not going to take him here. And then it comes down to Jack Besh and Bashal Tutin for me here at the pick. And honestly, it would probably just be roster dependent for me. If I thought I wanted the running back, I'd take Tutin. If I wanted the wide receiver, I'd take Besh. In a vacuum, I'm taking Besh, a player who I really liked going into the process. He's another player kind of like Egbuka where I'm just really confident they're going to be a good player in the NFL. Does all the dirty work, will do all the little things. Had the most receptions on LSU when he was a freshman while playing with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and all those other players there, which is a little funny little fact there. Not that any of them had a massive production. It was just funny that happened. And he was actually kind of playing tight end at that time. You know, he's a bigger wide receiver. He's not super big, but it's just interesting to know that he has that in him. His big final season in college was almost purely at X, though, which is interesting because he kind of projects as a power slot in the NFL, but it's nice to know that he can also just play outside. He can win on the outside against press. He's good after the catch. I actually like the fit with the Raiders because him and Myers can both play inside out, so they can kind of all just move across the formation. I think it's a good landing spot also just because now Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, like I'm actually really excited for the offense in general. And yeah, it's just confidence that he's going to succeed in the NFL. Tutin, I'm really excited for. He's another one of these boom bust picks where if he hits right, like we could be saying like, wow, this guy's is this like Liam Cohen's new Bucky Irving or something like that. But he has concerns with a lot of concerns with fumbling issues. Like some people have fumbling issues, like he has fumbling issues. So that's concerning to me, and I worry about like how many opportunities does he actually get in the NFL. We'll see. He's a real boom bust pick. Wouldn't fault anybody for taking him here, but I'm just taking Besh because of the confidence in that he will pan out.
Yeah, Besh got a great landing spot there for his skill set. Matt, you were huge on him after the Senior Bowl, I know, and so now he did not fall to you, and I am going to jump on Bashul Tutin because I love the talent, and yes, I see the Bucky Irving in him. I was big on him pre-draft. Love the landing spot in spite of Etienne and Tank Bigsby being there. I think he's just more talented than both of those guys at this point, and I'm really just leaning into the strength of the class in the running back position. It comes down to him or Scadaboo at this point, and I just like Tutin more than Scadaboo. So I think that's because for a running back to really, really hit, you're going to need double-digit touchdowns. And Jacksonville's offense is here, and the Giants' offense is here. So probably getting more red zone looks with Jacksonville. So I'm going to lean Tootin when I'm trying to tell a story here. So that's what I'm going with. All right, Matt, it's up to you here at the 208.
Yeah, so story time for me is I really like Scadaboo's tape. So in watching him, he's an exciting player. I like the attitude and the energy he plays with. I mean, he's got a good burst. He's strong. He can run people over. I think he's a tough player, and I think he gets to come in and take first and second down looks pretty easily. I think this, if you're a Tyrone Tracy owner, hopefully you've already moved off. I mean, if you have him still, and you got a great value on him in your startup drafts or in the rookie draft, maybe you got him as a free agent. I mean, I still think Tracy's got the value, but I just think Scadaboo's going to get more looks. I think he's 18 to 20 touches out the gates. So, I gotta, as a running back, I gotta like that. Or for a running back, I like that. So I don't think he'll be in a true competition with Tracy for touches, and that's attractive to me. So, and at this point of the second round, why not? And most of the drafts I've been in, I've seen Scadaboo go in the first 4 picks of the second round. So to land him in the 8th spot would be totally doable.
Yeah, I had one league where he went at the 212 or 112. So this is a solid pick here at the 208, I think. All right, Wyatt, it's up to you at the 209.
Jalen Knoll.
There you go.
Previously, a little bit. But, yeah, I still really like Knoll as a player. Probably going to be slot mostly in the NFL, though I think he could possibly play outside just because he's so shifty and such a good route runner. Really athletic. Can be a vertical slot. The only problem really is landing spot at this point.
All right. So then at the 210, and I like Noel too. I wish it was more opportunity there right away. But he could get all the Tank Dell looks, I've heard. So we'll see there. I like him more than Higgins, I'll be honest. I'm going to jump on Tyler Shook here. Yes. It's a toss-up between Shook and Milroe. I loved Milroe going into the process, but I just see Shook getting the opportunity quicker, and so that's where I'm going to lean with that. We know that Shook is like 10 years older than Milroe, but I'm just gonna lean into the fact that he's probably playing quicker. So I'll go with Shook. Go ahead, Matt.
Man, see, this is right around the range I actually want to take Noel, between the 211 and 212. That is not there. So that would be, for me, I'd be not on the screen at the moment, but I'd be looking between Devin Neal or Jaden Blue here, just because of the skill sets they both possess and the landing spots that they hit in. So it's a tougher call, but probably going to go Devin Neal here for the simple reason I feel like when he comes in to the locker room, he is the new Mark Ingram to Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara's had some injury history as of recent. His efficiency has gone down, and he's got a super tradable contract. So I like Devin Neal's prospects being in there. If he can run between the tackles, he's got a burst to play outside. He's not a bad pass catcher. So I think they could have done a lot worse with the pick for the Saints. But yeah, I'm pretty confident in Devin Neal being a decent asset. I mean, he's not going to be an RB1, but again, depending on the roster construction and the market that the league gives you, I'm totally comfortable taking Neal at the 210.
All right, Wyatt at the 212. Who do you like here?
I'm taking the swing on Jalen Milroe and hope that at
All
some
right.
point he's playing. Because if he's playing, I'm confident he scores points because he's going to run. I'm not confident he's going to be a long-time starter in the NFL at all, but I'm confident that if he plays, he will score fantasy points. And, Sam Darnold's contract there for Seattle is actually kind of a glorified one-year contract. They could possibly move on from him after the year. Maybe that happens for Milrow. It's just, if he ever gets to start, he'll score points, and also you could probably move off of him at that point for something better.
Yeah. Yeah, I liken him to Justin Fields, basically. Not a great real-life quarterback, but fantasy-wise, man, if he's got the legs, he can get it done for us, right? Okay, we'll try and rapid-fire these third-rounders a little quick. So now that you stole Milrow on me, I am going to have to look elsewhere here. And this is where it gets tricky. Because, oh boy. All right. I'm going to go Jalen Royals. Yeah, this is tough. I don't love it. But Jalen Royals, Kansas City Chiefs landing spot. I'm going to buy into the narrative that he plays Rashee Rice's role while Rice is out for whatever time period, and maybe he booms there and I can flip him for something. That's what I'm doing. If I'm drafting a wide receiver in a lineup league at this point in the draft, that's all I'm looking to do, because my team's the way I roster build. It's mostly running backs from here on out. But yeah, I'll take a shot at Royals in this one. You can go ahead now, Matt.
Yeah, and just for context here on my affinity for Royals, I traded Rashee Rice for the 112 and Jalen Wright in draft because I wanted to go get a share of RJ Harvey, but the receiver room made me a little bit nervous there. This situation made me nervous, but I wanted to get off of Rice. But then I went ahead and got myself Jalen Royals later in the third round because I feel like he is the new Rashee Rice with no off the field issues, right? Or the same injury history. So I think he's a good prospect. For me, with this next pick, give me some Terrence Ferguson. I'm not big on drafting the tight ends in the first two rounds, but third round capital here for me. Terrence Ferguson lands in a wonderful situation where there's just, what's he got to contend with? Bigby. So I think he couldn't be in a better situation there. Maybe you could argue Arroyo being in Seattle, but that's what I'm going to go with.
All right, Terrence Ferguson it is. Wyatt, on to you. We're going to have a tight end run here or what?
I'm going to break it up. I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, there it is.
Taking the swing. I think there's a very good chance he starts games for the Browns this year. Yeah. So with that being so, I think it's worth the investment at this point, even if it's just to flip him later, because I don't think his fantasy ceiling is that high per se. Although, to be fair, I think he actually fits the Kevin Stefanski offense pretty perfectly. But yeah, I think he will actually start games this year. So taking the swing.
Yeah, I think the ownership will just push him out onto the field, honestly. I mean, it was obvious when the pick was made.
Yeah, pretty sure
the coaching staff wasn't very happy about
it.
It
looked like they were being held hostage. So
yeah. And we don't need to dive too much more into Shedeur because I think enough has been said about him already. Okay, so that being said, I'm just going to go with the talent that I see here at the running back position because I want to lean into this running back draft as much as possible. And so I'm going Dylan Sampson. I know that obviously Quinshawn is ahead of him, but I'm telling you, they're both better than Jerome Ford, obviously. And so whenever Quinshawn is injured, Dylan Sampson's going to be the man. And even when Judkins is healthy, I think it's going to be a similar situation to Chubb and Kareem Hunt. That's what I see that they drafted there. Cleveland doesn't have amazing pass catchers. Jerry Judy's all right, and Njoku's decent, but you know what I'm saying. And they're going to try and run the ball, and they're going to pound it through these two guys. And so I think Dylan Sampson is kind of being a little underrated maybe by some. So I'll take him here at the 304. I got no problem with that. All right. 305 to you, Matt.
Yeah, if Shadur's actually the quarterback, they're going to be running the football a lot. Because that dude is not the short star. He likes to throw screens like 40% of the time. So, anyway, give me Jaden Blue here. So I took a little gamble not taking him and took Ferguson. But yeah, I like Jaden Blue here. Immediately into the pass catching role. And he's pretty electric, man. So I think he'll get a lot of looks in year one.
Very good. All right, Wyatt, 306 to you.
Between two tight ends for me, that's Mason Taylor and Elijah Arroyo. I think both good spots. But I'm going to go with Taylor basically because I think he's actually just starting tight end from day one. I don't have a ton of confidence that he's going to be like a difference maker at tight end, but finding a rookie tight end who's going to start right away is an asset that I can probably use in the future for something better.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is where I don't mind taking the tight end, the shot on the tight end. This tight end class is very good. I mean, it's being overshadowed by the running backs in this class. But, again, with Loveland and Warren not getting awesome landing spots to me, I'm willing to take a shot on those two and the other tight end, which you didn't take. So I am just going to grab him, and that's Elijah Arroyo. Again, the door is wide open in Seattle for him to overtake Noah Fant, who just hasn't been what people hoped for when he was taken in the, a second-round pick, I think? Same draft as Hawkinson. I can't remember which round. But anyway.
Bill Fant was first-round pick, too.
He was first round, okay. I couldn't remember if he was first or second.
They might just be on their way out with him, so.
Yeah. All right. Matt, it's up to you then at the 308.
Man, I just don't have that one the way I want it, but that's okay. Yeah, so I've got a couple picks in mind here that I like towards the end of the third round. So I'm going to take Will Howard here. It's kind of a little bit of, it's a gamble on my part. I mean, he's got Mason Rudolph in front of him. I don't know if Pittsburgh's actually going to sign Aaron Rodgers, which leaves him in a pretty fair competition. The way Mike Tomlin speaks about him, and I know he struggled with some inaccuracy along the way, but he looks like a game manager, which is what makes sense for Pittsburgh this year. I mean, so with no Pickens there, I could totally see Howard getting on the field at some point this year. So yeah, why not? Let's take a shot on Will Howard.
I like the pick there. Yes. All right, Wyatt. It's on you at the 309.
I'm going to go with DJ Giddens. A running back I like going into the process a good bit just because of his athletic ability and how good he is with the ball in his hands. He's definitely young and still developing as a running back. His vision's just okay. His hands are pretty inconsistent. He cannot pass block whatsoever. But I'm pretty confident he is better than the other running backs on the roster after Jonathan Taylor, and he is the second running back to Jonathan Taylor. Should anything happen, I expect Giddens to get a lot of work. For that reason, I'd be happy to have him on my bench as a depth piece to plug him in.
All right. Yeah, I like the Giddens pick there. Jonathan Taylor hasn't quite been as healthy as people may not realize lately. So he gets banged up, and Giddens is the man there. All right, so we're going to finish this up after 3. We've talked a lot in detail about a lot of these guys and done a great job. I just didn't realize we were running this long here, which is all good, fine by me. But for my last pick, I am going to... you know what? I'm just gonna go down the board on this one because this is somebody I'd probably taken the 4th round, but I just want to talk a little bit about him, and that's Brashard Smith. I love the opportunity he's got in Kansas City to get that Jerick McKinnon role. And so, yeah, he's one of my favorite dart throws that I don't want to let go to the undrafted free agent bidding in my leagues. And so, yeah, I'll just grab Brashard Smith here. And, yeah, I think he can be the next Jerick McKinnon there. And I like it. So, there you go, Matt. I stole your guy.
Yeah, well, I didn't steal my guy. Overdrafted him. No, just kidding. So on that note, and this may not even be that big of an overdraft since we're throwing darts anyway late in the 3rd, I'd take Jordan James here. One, he's a much better running back. Well, he's better running back than Garindo. Christian McCaffrey has not necessarily been the poster child for healthy running back. It's a Shanahan offense. If CMC gets hurt at any level, Jordan James could be looking at a very hefty workload, this year, if not by year 2 and 3. So, love Jordan James, and I would fire off at the end of the 3rd round on this guy. Absolutely.
For sure. Not a bad pick at all. All right, Wyatt, why don't you finish us off here? Give us your last. All right.
Young receiver, definitely still developing. He was late to football. Was born in Canada. Some really productive years, though, for Stanford. He, going up to the draft, was like projected draft capital in the 2nd round for most of the process, and then kind of just at the very end started to fall in mocks, and then ends up falling to the 4th round with Tennessee. There's some reports after the draft, though, that I guess some medical issues popped up for him, and that's part of the reason why he dropped, which would explain him going all the way to the 4th. But if you're going to fall to the 4th, it's nice to fall on a team where there's a lot of opportunity ahead of you, which there definitely is for Tennessee. So I'm going to take the shot that he continues to develop in a place where he has a path to opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. With Calvin Ridley being the only established receiver there, the door's open for one of these rookies between him, Chimere Dike, and Xavier Restrepo. I mean, Aya Manor's got the most talent there. I love DK. He went to the high school that my kid's going to go to, and my kid went to his camp and all, but even though he got drafted ahead of him, I still think Aya Manor has more potential. We'll just put it that way. But, all right, so there's 3 rounds for you guys. Wyatt, do you have any other dart throws you want to mention? Maybe 1 or 2 guys. I know we're not doing the 4th round now, but maybe 1 or 2 guys you want to throw out there just for the listeners to keep in mind?
The one that I'll mention, and I know, like, once we get in these late in these drafts, I don't normally like to take wide receivers, but I really like taking Torrey Horton. Another player that I was a fan of. I think he's just a smooth route runner, moves really well. One of these players who I think just can create separation, and because of that, can work his way into opportunity. And Seattle doesn't have anyone who can really play on the outside currently. I mean, JSN could line up outside if they really wanted him to. I really don't think you could do it with Cooper Kupp at all anymore. They signed MVS, who is a sacrificial X wide receiver, and so he can do that. Just running the love for the game routes out there. But Torrey Horton, I think, can be a flanker for them, also playing outside. Just as long as he can avoid press coverage, I think he can get open and have success in the NFL. So I kind of dig the spot for him, even though he got the late capital.
Yeah, I think Matt Harmon was pretty high on him too. And another guy that I took in the last draft I was in the 4th round was Tesla. And, I mean, it really was just because of reception perception showing the numbers, and that, he produced when given the opportunity, basically. And if Detroit's going to take him with the 70th pick overall in the draft, they've got some kind of plan for him. And, I don't think they trade Jamison Williams, but I don't know that they're paying him. And so the opportunity might be there for some looks, I guess. And, in a best ball format, if you're doing best ball, I completely flip my third and fourth round selections. There, I'm leaning more wide receivers in a best ball format. So it's league dependent whether I'd be going on some wide receivers here. But yeah, Isaac Tesla is somebody I think. Matt, anybody you want to mention quick before we head out?
Well, Wyatt took the name right out of my mouth because I love Torrey Horton. I mean, the fact that he was running 4.4s after an ACL, he's not even 100%.
Yeah.
The dude's fast. Good. I couldn't disagree with anything you said, but I'll say Jarquez Hunter. I think him landing in LA with the Rams is a good spot. I think it puts the Blake Corum experiment didn't look awesome last year. Not that he's dead in the water, but from a fantasy purpose, doesn't look awesome. And Hunter comes in, and I think he's this very similar back build to Kieran Williams. And he's going to put a lot of pressure on that dude. He doesn't necessarily have like the shortest injury list either, so he could be pushing for playtime this year. A lot of people think maybe he could take over the backfield. I don't know if I'll go that far yet, but I think he'll push for playtime.
Yeah, with a Kyron Williams injury, it's just a matter of who wins that second RB2 spot there with the Rams, because that's a valuable fantasy spot, just like you talked about with Jordan James as well. So, all right. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like and subscribe and click on that little bell for more notifications of shows coming up in the Birdhouse. Wyatt, you want to share where people can reach you at again?
Yeah, Wyatt B _FF on Twitter. On my Twitter profile, there's a link to find all of my work that I do. So check it out.
I'll put the link down in the description of this video as well for you guys to go check out Wyatt. His articles are awesome. There's a reason he is with Player Profiler and RotoUnderworld. I keep wanting to saying RotoWorld, but RotoUnderworld. Yes. All right. Well, big thanks out to you, Wyatt, for checking out the Birdhouse. We really appreciate you stopping in, and wish you the best of luck for the rest of your drafts this May.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. For Matt English, this is Chris Lemke, and we want to remind you all that you should make sure you never stop working.